and she's gonna be your wife. And Jacob was like, cool, I don't care, because this is how much I love her. Like, I don't even care. I want to be with Rachel. 7 years passed by, and he thinking, okay, the day has finally come. The day has finally arrived. Now I'm finna go and be with my wife, and boom, everything in flip mode. He goes down, they go to the bedroom or whatever, and realize that, oh my goodness, Rachel was not the one that he ended up marrying. He ended up marrying Rachel's older sister, which name was Leah. And this is kind of what I'm going at with the topic that I want to share with you today. So Leah, she was not the pretty one. She was not the chosen one. She was not the one that Jacob was even after. But Leah loved Jacob. She wanted Jacob herself. She was crazy about Jacob. And to find out that her dad had basically tricked him to marrying her. Could you imagine how that made her feel? Like, as a woman, as a person, just like you tricked him to marry me. Like, he didn't even want to marry me on his own. You tricked him to marry me. And so this is what I come up with Leah's assignment to Jacob, because Jacob did not get a chance to marry Rachel at first. It was Leah. It was Leah that he married, the one that he wasn't all that crazy about. And so he went to Laman and was like, dude, you tried it. You messed around and gave me the wrong woman. I done went to bed with this woman. This is not supposed to be the woman I was supposed to be with. This and that or whatever. But they had already made covenant. It hadn't already happened. What was done was done. Jacob was like, I don't care. I'm going to still take Rachel as my wife. So now he has Leah and he has Rachel. So he goes in and he bees with Rachel as well. So now basically he gets stuck with two wives. He can't undo what happened. It already didn't happen. It is what it is. So now Leah has to sit back and sit in and join in and watch her husband, who is not interested in her, who does not want to be with her, and take his time and be with the sister, Rachel. Now, Rachel, on the other hand, he wanted Rachel. He loved Rachel. Rachel was a pretty one, but Jacob didn't do his homework. And so he didn't know the things that the Lord had did to Rachel. And he didn't know what type of person Rachel was. And so I want to just give you some background information of what I said Leah is. She's an example of, and what an example of Rachel is. So Leah is the example of your opponent. Let's just say, for instance, that and the reason why I say she is her assignment to Jacob, because it's like she came up against what's going on with her husband. So she's an example of, if you are in a relationship with somebody, or if you're in a marriage covenant with somebody, and they're dealing with the outside world, they're dealing with drugs, they're dealing with a strange woman, they're dealing with a family member, okay? They're dealing with something very difficult, something very hard. This is what Leah is an example of. Rachel, on the other hand, who he didn't have no information about, he didn't really know. All he seen was Rachel was pretty. She was fine. I want her. That's the one I want. But he had no idea that Rachel came with a ministry. She could not have children. She had a jealous spirit. She displayed a spirit of entitlement, and she was never satisfied. Now, Jacob, on the other hand, he is an example of a loving husband. He was to Rachel, because he was not a loving husband to Leah. He was very patient, intolerant, long-suffering. Jacob was that to Rachel. Leah was that to Jacob. The reason Leah was Jacob's, the reason Jacob was Leah's assignment was because her father basically fooled her. Her father basically fooled her and told her, had this situation happen. She had no idea. She thought the man wanted her for her. She had no idea that she was being bamboozled. And what kind of foolery is that, to get into a marital covenant with somebody, and all of a sudden the person that you thought that was supposed to be for you, the person that you thought wanted to marry you for you, you get into this marital covenant and find out this person is not the person they say they are. And now you have made covenant with this person, and you looking crazy and they looking crazy. And it's like, what we supposed to do now? All right, what we supposed to do now? So Rachel's dad basically tricked Jacob to marry Leah first. All right, Jacob's dad basically tricked him, and by him doing that caused a problem in their marital covenant. But I want to pull out some things that I want you to see about Jacob and how his behavior and some of the choices that he made caused problems in their marital covenant. So technically, technically, even though he was fooled, even though his uncle did what he did to him, even though that was the case or whatever, Jacob was supposed to go, take his wife Leah, and go about his business. That's what it was. Okay, he was fooled, he was tricked, but at the end of the day, he had already made covenant with Leah. He had already went into Leah. He had already made Leah basically his baby mama. She became pregnant. She had his children. Rachel didn't have any of those things. Jacob was only one-sided. He was only one-sided. Jacob is an example of a person who did not do his research, who did not do his homework. And he's also an example of that person who you think that you are getting away with something in one season of your life, not knowing that we reap what we sow. That saying is so true. We do reap what we sow. You was too busy being a trickster in your past and doing things in your past, had no idea that it was going to catch up with you in your latter days. And now all of a sudden, the woman of your dreams, the woman that you finally want to marry, you got tricked. And even though you finally did have her as your wife, she represent that woman with the ministry. She had a bad attitude. She was never satisfied. She was envy and jealous of her sister because she couldn't have kids. And then she told Jacob one day, listen, I need to have your kids or I would die. I need to have your kids or I would die. Had no idea that her very words that she used will be used against her one day. She said those words, and that's how she ended up dying. The Lord finally did open up her womb, and she had Joseph. And then she also had Benjamin. But having Benjamin is the way she ended up dying and losing her life. Jacob is a perfect example of someone who's not doing his homework, who did not do his homework going into the marital covenant. Leah is a perfect example of that person who has had to basically stand by her man, be there for him, do whatever, even though she was not reaping the benefits. She had an assignment to Jacob, even though Jacob did not have an assignment to her. Jacob had a ministry with Rachel, and he was too blind to see what was taking place. He was so caught up in, how beautiful Rachel was and how great she was. But Rachel was working his nerves. Rachel was doing things that making his nerves all kinds of ways bad. But Jacob still loved her. He still loved her. And so the point I want to make with this whole story was, you have to be careful before going into a marital covenant, or even while in the marital covenant. You have to be so careful about the choices you make. You have to be careful about the things and decisions that you make going into the marital covenant. I want to just point out the points that what we can learn about Jacob, or what Jacob can teach us about marriage, what he can teach us about marriage. You need more than physical attraction going into the marital covenant. You need more than physical attraction. Love at first sight, those are very nice words to say, but it takes more than that. You need more than they physically look nice. They physically look nice. Leah, she wasn't physically pretty. She wasn't a pretty one, but guess what? Leah was humble. Leah was able to have his children. Leah sat in the background. Leah stood by his side. Leah was there with him all the way through her sisters dying and everything. She had to basically be in the background and watch a man that she loved love another woman. She had to stand in the background and watch the man that she loved love on another woman, and she had to stand there and be by his side because she was his wife. They had covenant together. And when I tell you that's an assignment all by itself, and everybody ain't built that way. Everybody can't do that. Jacob also can teach us you need